It's Monday, August 26th. I'm Tre'vell Anderson.
And I'm Josie Duffy Rice. And this is What a Day, the show that wishes J.D. Vance would just stop talking.
He was on Meet the Press this weekend and said he doesn't regret making the childless cat lady comment. He just wishes y'all had a better sense of humor.
Yeah, he said a lot of Democrats have willfully misinterpreted what he was saying, which is totally how I would suggest to get votes. Tell people they're not funny enough to get you. On today's show, we talked to Palestinian Georgia State Representative Ruwa Roman, who was denied the opportunity to speak at last week's Democratic National Convention.
But first, we're going to shake things up a bit and start the show with some headlines.
Headlines.
On Sunday evening, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said, quote, "This is not the end of the story," after the Lebanese militant group Hezbollah traded fire with Israel over the weekend, marking the biggest flare-up in violence between the two in recent months. Hezbollah claims to have hit an Israeli military intelligence site near Tel Aviv with a barrage of rockets. Israel refuted that claim, saying that it had launched successful quote-unquote preemptive attacks that destroyed some of Hezbollah's rocket launchers. U.S. defense officials helped Israel by tracking Hezbollah's strikes, but they say they didn't deploy any weapons. Hezbollah's attack is in response to Israel's killing of one of its military commanders last month. Sunday's violence heightened fears of a wider conflict in the Middle East. Hassan Nasrallah, Hezbollah's leader, signaled that the group could launch further attacks on Israel in the coming days.
And more from that Meet the Press interview with Republican Vice Presidential Nominee J.D. Vance. On Sunday, he told NBC's Kristen Welker that Donald Trump would not support a federal law banning abortion if he were elected president again. Vance also claimed Trump would veto such legislation if it were to land on his desk.
Well, I think it'd be very clear he would not support it. I mean, he said that explicitly. Yeah, I mean, if you're not supporting it as the President of the United States, you fundamentally have to veto it.
So he would veto a federal abortion ban?
I think he would. He said that explicitly that he would. And
I don't think he's ever said explicitly he would.
On Friday, Trump also promised on Truth Social that his administration would, quote, be great for women and their reproductive rights. All the evidence points to the contrary, though, given that Trump also likes to brag that the Supreme Court justices he appointed during his first term helped overturn Roe v. Wade.
They just lying in our faces, Josie.
Should we trust this guy?
Maybe not.
Maybe not. Maybe not.
Independent presidential candidate Robert F. Kennedy Jr. finally suspended his campaign on Friday. Take a listen to what he told reporters.
I cannot in good conscience ask my staff and volunteers to keep working their long hours or ask my donors to keep giving when I cannot honestly tell them that I have a real path to the White House.
Baby, you ain't had a path in a minute, but when did you get said good conscience?
When did we get a good conscience, baby?
Kennedy also endorsed former President Donald Trump for the White House on Friday, and he told Fox News on Sunday that he would be actively campaigning for the former president, saying, quote, "I want to make America healthy again, and so does President Trump." Even though polling suggests that Kennedy's endorsement likely won't have a huge impact on the race, we still have to give him credit for several memorable moments during this election cycle, between debating himself when he didn't qualify for the actual presidential debate and claiming that doctors found a dead worm in his brain.
Also, remember when he put the bear in the park?
Oh, yes. That one, too.
It's really just been hit after hit.
Hit after hit.
Depending on what you consider a hit to be. And finally, 2 American astronauts who've been stuck in space for months will be extending their stay into next year. NASA astronauts Suni Williams and Butch Wilmore arrived at the International Space Station in early June. They were only supposed to be there for 8 days as part of a test flight for Boeing's Starliner spacecraft, but technical problems with the vessel had left their return date in limbo, and on Saturday, NASA announced that Williams and Wilmore would not be returning on Starliner and would instead return on a SpaceX vehicle in February. NASA Administrator Bill Nelson said the decision was, quote, the result of our commitment to safety.
Oh.
Look, I go somewhere for 8 days, and I'm there for 9 months.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Would you panic?
Not sure I signed up for that.
Would you panic?
Yes. Tre'vell Anderson would panic, but I think Suni Williams and Butch Wilmore, they are patriots of the highest order. They trained for this. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you and I are not going to be in space together. That's a good point.
Oh, listen.
Like, of course we're going to panic because we're not space people.
Not space people.
We're
Okay,
not
I'm
space
barely
people.
Earth people.
I'm
okay,
barely
and now you want me to be
Earth people.
space?
Like,
Come on now.
I get on a plane and I'm like, listen, you want me to jet into the atmosphere? And those are the headlines. Last week's Democratic National Convention was an opportunity for the party to unify behind presidential nominee Vice President Kamala Harris, and the enthusiasm on display during the convention was overwhelming.
But while the DNC made time on the main stage for Harris supporters from a wide range of backgrounds and ideological viewpoints, there was one notable omission. DNC leaders denied the request of the Uncommitted Movement to have a Palestinian American speak on stage at the convention. The Uncommitted Movement is a coalition of delegates representing the more than 500,000 people who voted uncommitted or the equivalent on their primary ballots to object to the Biden administration's support for Israel's war on Gaza.
One of the people who the Uncommitted Movement suggested as a speaker at the DNC was Georgia State Representative Ruwa Romman, the first Palestinian American elected to public office in Georgia. Here she is reading part of the speech that she wanted to make on stage.
But in this pain, I've witnessed something profound. A beautiful, multi-faith, multiracial, and multi-generational coalition rising from despair within our Democratic Party. For 320 days, we've stood together, demanding to enforce our laws on friend and foe alike to reach a ceasefire, end the killing of Palestinians, free all the Israeli and Palestinian hostages, and to begin the difficult work of building a path to collective peace and safety. That's why we are here, members of this Democratic Party committed to equal rights and dignity for all. What we do here echoes around the world.
For more on the DNC's decision and the message that it sends to voters opposed to the U.S.'s support for Israel's war in Gaza, I spoke with Representative Romman, and she started by telling me more about what she had hoped to say during her DNC speech.
The speech itself was focused on a few things. One, I really wanted to share my personal story to give people an idea of who are Palestinians, what does our history look like, those kinds of things. I wanted to be able to talk about how, and not just talk about, but also show how Trump is not an acceptable choice. He uses me and my identity as a slur. And last but not least, about how even though federally our party has not fully caught up with the base, that there is this beautiful multi-faith, multi-religious, multi-generational coalition that has emerged, and how that coalition can absolutely create the kind of world where we do prioritize funding schools instead of war. We do prioritize feeding the hungry. We do prioritize restoring access to abortions. And, it was a little bit of unity and a little bit of what could the future look like, and obviously support for Vice President Harris.
Yeah, so it seems like a pretty reasonable speech.
Yeah, it was super watered down. Like, we took out, anything that could be controversial. This was really meant to be a good faith gesture and unite the party.
Right. And you said that before, right? Like, you said that you were kind of giving a relatively sanitized speech to make it more palatable. What are some of the things that you would have said in a non-sanitized speech?
I mean, this is like politics. You could say the same thing 5 different ways. What's happening in Gaza is awful. It's a massacre. But the reality situation is that we have had international court systems that say that there was a threat of genocide as early as January if the following conditions are not met. And now that those conditions have not been met, it's pretty safe to assume that is what's going on. But I also recognize that legally our country hasn't come to that conclusion just yet. And I probably would have gone a little bit deeper into sort of how what my family went through was ethnic cleansing, the violence that they had experienced. But again, there was never an intention to quote unquote bring the vibes down. It really was trying to sort of capture the promise of this moment.
What message is the DNC sending by refusing to allow you or any other Palestinian speaker time to speak?
Again, just like this was meant to be a symbolic gesture, the symbolism is that there is no room for Palestinians or their allies in the party. The reality is that if you could not get yourself to give any singular Palestinian a place on that stage, it's just such an awful, awful, awful symbolic thing to say and do. But also, what people don't realize is that Wednesday night, when we saw the parents of an Israeli hostage on the stage, we actually got really excited. We thought in that moment, the party was going to take this very seriously, that this was a moment to really highlight both the devastation, but again, that we could really lead on this in a way that protects everybody and cares for everybody. So I was with one of the uncommitted folks when they got the call, and I remember sort of this excitement of, all right, like, this is it, we're about to get this call. And the call ended up being a final no. They've been in negotiations. They were told that as long as the DNC doesn't say no, this is a good thing. Keep sending us names, keep working with us, let's keep going, let's keep going. And so when we got the call, I think it was about an hour-ish after the hostage parents had gone up there. And I remembered like the excitement, and then suddenly that excitement was no longer there.
We will be back with more of my conversation with Georgia State Representative Ruwa Roman.
And if you like our show, make sure to subscribe and share it with your friends. We'll be back after some ads.
What a Day is brought to you by Nutrafol. Listen, having long, luscious hair, always what I wanted in life, but for a very long time, that felt unachievable. Not since I started Nutrafol, though. My hair is longer than it's ever been. I'm so happy. Loving life. This is great. Nutrafol is the #1 dermatologist-recommended hair growth supplement, with over 1 million people seeing thicker, stronger, faster-growing hair with less shedding.
Yes, thinning hair is different for everybody, so a one-size-fits-all approach to hair growth doesn't cut it. Nutrafol has multiple formulas that are tailored to give your hair what it needs. Get results you can run your fingers through. For a limited time, Nutrafol is offering our listeners $10 off your first month's subscription and free shipping when you go to Nutrafol.com and enter the promo code DAY. Find out why over 4,500 healthcare professionals and stylists recommend Nutrafol for healthier hair. Nutrafol.com, spelled Nutrafol.com, promo code DAY.
What a Day is brought to you by Rocket Money. How much do you think you're paying in subscriptions every month? The answer is probably more than you think.
Entirely more than I think. Rocket Money is a personal finance app that helps find and cancel your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps lower your bills so that you can grow your savings. Rocket Money has over 5 million users and has saved a total of $500 million in canceled subscriptions, saving members up to $740 a year when using all of the app's features.
Stop wasting money on things you don't use. Cancel your unwanted subscriptions by going to rocketmoney.com/whataday. That is rocketmoney.com/whataday. rocketmoney.com/whataday.
What a Day is brought to you by Brooklinen. Some things in life are worth spending on, and you sleep in your sheets every night. So Brooklinen is one of them. Brooklinen's value is the best, even helping you save when you bundle.
The hardcore bundles come with everything you need: a fitted sheet, a flat sheet, a duvet cover, and 4 pillowcases. You can even choose to mix and match from a variety of colors and patterns to fit your particular style. We have told y'all many times before about the fabulous stuff over at Brooklinen. These sheets, y'all, okay? So good, so soft, so supple, make you feel like you're in a hotel.
They're so soft. And you should be sleeping 8 hours a night. I don't, but most people should. And that's a long time to spend in crappy sheets,
Absolutely.
It will make your life better to sleep in sheets that you love. Start and end your summer days with the reviving comfort of Brooklinen. Visit in-store or online at brooklinen.com. That's BROOKLINEN.com and get 15% off of your first order. And we are back with the rest of my conversation with Georgia State Representative Ruwa Roman. I asked her about what the DNC missed out on by denying Palestinian Americans a space at the convention, considering that the vast majority of Democrats oppose Israel's handling of the war in Gaza.
We got a no without a single explanation. To this day, and I've gone back and I've asked people over and over and over and over again, and nobody will tell me why there was not a single speaker on that stage. And I want to be clear, I was the Hail Mary. Me and Abdel Nasser were like the final push because we could at least deal with sort of the public scrutiny. We were already kind of in the public eye, and so we could handle it, unlike some of the other suggested speakers who were going to speak because they just had family in Gaza. They were, your typical average everyday person who hadn't really been in the spotlight and was kind of scared about being in the spotlight this way. But what was really fascinating to me was that they would not have a single one. And to your point, this was a gift. We offered a gift. And not only was it just any generic gift, I'm an elected Palestinian in a swing state. I've had people texting me saying that if I had seen you on that stage, I could have at least put aside all of my disappointment at the lack of policy that has changed, let alone commitments to any policy changes, and would have been willing to come around. Right? They said I would be willing to come around. Instead, it reinforced for so many people who I've been working so hard to win over and who had a rekindled sense of hope when Vice President Harris stepped up to become the nominee, trying to kindle that hope, and instead it just ended up going completely haywire.
So what was your reaction to the statement that Vice President Harris made about Gaza and Israel during her DNC speech?
I mean, again, she did not say anything different during her speech compared to even as early as George Bush. The reality of the situation is that the ask for us originally was not another bomb, meaning an arms embargo. We understand that the word arms embargo is a very loaded term. We understand that for most people, they don't even know what that means. So then the question becomes, why could she not say something like, I commit to enforcing our laws, or, humanitarian laws on friend and foe alike?
I mean, what steps do you think that the Harris-Walz campaign needs to take in order to earn your support in the coming months, in the support of other Palestinian Americans who, were disappointed by the speech and by Palestinians not getting a platform at the DNC? And I just want to say other people, anybody.
Yeah, 100%. And I love that you're clarifying that because, again, this has not been just Arabs, just Palestinians, just Muslims that care about this. There's a multi-faith, multi-generational, multi-racial coalition that emerged that really genuinely, like I said, saved my life. And those are the people who made up the majority of uncommitted voters. And to win them back, they want a ceasefire. But the reason that, quote unquote, calling for a ceasefire is not enough is because if you keep sending the bombs to somebody and they keep dropping those bombs on innocent Palestinians preventing a ceasefire, then it doesn't matter how many times you say the word ceasefire. It's just not going to work. You have to apply pressure. You have to apply, consequences to people breaking our laws. Because again, we talk a lot about how we are a leader on the world stage and, we've got one of the mightiest militaries in the world. And you're telling me that we cannot get a country to do what we are asking them to do. How in the world is this a dynamic that we exist in? It genuinely baffles my mind that we are begging and groveling this fascist man to please stop killing innocent people and simultaneously just handing him more bombs. It genuinely doesn't make any sense to me. It's incomprehensible. And so that's what people are asking for. They're asking for her to commit to enforcing our laws, to applying this pressure, to doing the right thing, because saying the word ceasefire just isn't enough.
That was my conversation with Georgia State Representative Ruwa Roman. Tre'vell, as Representative Roman mentioned, we are only a couple months away from the election. And Democrats really, truly, truly, truly have their work cut out for them with uncommitted voters right now.
Absolutely. They can't take anyone's vote for granted at this point.
Absolutely not.
One more thing before we go. The police tell us they are here to protect us. But what if their original purpose was something else altogether? In Wondery, Cricket Media, and Push Black's newest limited series, Empire City, the untold origin story of the NYPD, Peabody Award-winning host Chinjurai Kumanika takes you deep into the hidden history of the NYPD, from its origins rooted in slavery to rival police gangs battling across the city to the everyday people who resisted every step of the way. As the debate around policing rages on, Empire City uncovers the truths about where it all began. Listen to the trailer out now wherever you get your podcasts, and follow Empire City on your favorite podcast platform to hear full episodes starting September 9th. That is all for today. If you like the show, make sure you subscribe, leave a review, send some positive vibes to the International Space Station, and tell your friends to listen.
And if you are into reading and not just Representative Roman's entire speech, like me, What a Day is also a nightly newsletter. So check it out and subscribe at cricket.com/subscribe. I'm Josie Duffy Rice.
I'm Tre'vell Anderson. And can't y'all take a joke? Apparently not.
Apparently not. Or maybe The Messenger isn't that good at telling jokes. Look, if nobody likes your joke,
maybe you're just not funny, beloved, and that's okay too. Everybody's not a comedian.
That's okay. Know your strengths. What a Day is a production of Crooked Media. It's recorded and mixed by Bill Lance. Our associate producer is Raven Yamamoto. Our producer is Michelle Eloy. We had production help today from Ethan Oberman, Greg Walters, and Julia Clare. Our showrunner is Erica Morrison, and our executive producer is Adrian Hill. Our theme music is by Colin Gilliard and Kashaka.
When you're feeding 500 people every day, there's no room for error. That's why I love Made in Cookware. As a chef and a restaurant owner, I'm as meticulous about my cookware as I am about my ingredients. Each pan they make isn't just designed to perform, it's crafted to last. As a mom, I love that I can trust Made In. It's made from the world's finest materials, so I can feel good about what I'm feeding my family. I'm Chef Brooke Williamson, and I use Made in Cookware. Shop chef quality pots and pans at madeincookware.com.
I'm Roman Mars, host of 99% Invisible. We've got a new mini-series for you called Not Built for This. The series is about climate change, but not in the way you might think. It's about how the complex systems that govern our lives are not designed for the tectonic changes that are coming our way. Because right now, we're all living in a world that was just not built for this. You can find Not Built for This in the 99% Invisible feed on SiriusXM, Pandora, or wherever you get your podcasts. Don't forget to follow 99PI so you never miss an episode.